Join us as we uncover the disturbing story of Julie Minogue. In Goshen, New York, she graduated from the Monroe Woodbury High School and then attended Orange County Community College. The daughter of Gerald Minogue and Sandra Barash Doper. She had two siblings, Allison Barati Corcoran and Peter Gerald Minogue. With her professional life ahead of her, she moved to Milford, Connecticut, and began working as a medical assistant with the Coastal Obstetrics and Gynecology. In Julie's personal life, she was a good, caring mother to three boys, Nicholas, Sean, and Luke. Nicholas was the oldest at 21 and was serving in the U.S. Coast Guard. Sean, at 17, was still in high school, and the baby boy was Luke at the age of 3. Nicholas and Sean were Julie's children from a previous relationship. Luke came along after Julie had a relationship with a man named Ewan A. Dewitt of Roxbury, Connecticut, whom she'd met in 2017. A relationship that was doomed from the beginning. On November 9, 2019, Dewitt was arrested for assaulting Julie by throwing a playpen at her head while she was holding their infant son. The charges were second-degree assault and risk of injury to an infant. Both were felonies. Dewitt was also charged with misdemeanor third-degree criminal mischief and disorderly conduct. He destroyed Julie's phone so she couldn't call 911, and she had to flee to a neighbor's residence to make the call. In the months that followed, he would go through alcohol treatment and a treatment program for veterans who had used violence in relationships. A protective order was also issued to Dewitt, who pleaded not guilty and was released on a $20,000 bond. Julie left Dewitt in 2021 and moved herself and the children into a condominium in Milford, Connecticut. She also filed for child support in August of 2021, and in October 2021, Dewitt was ordered to pay. Then, in December of that same year, Dewitt took Julie to court over visitation. Julie's attorney filed an objection because of the pending assault case, and there had been a new arrest in North Carolina for Dewitt. This was for allegedly assaulting a female along with emergency personnel. Sadly, in many family cases, a parent is pressured to give access to the abuser that they're afraid of, so Julie could not escape the order. "I don't feel I should be subjected to this abuse any longer," Julie wrote in a November 17th affidavit, the Connecticut Post reported. "I'm scared for the safety of my children and myself. Ewan has gotten himself into a lot of trouble with drugs and alcohol, and I'm scared he's going to kill me." On November the 14th of 2022, Julie told the Milford police that her ex-boyfriend, Ewan Dewitt, had violated a protective order. On November the 17th, 2022, a judge granted a temporary civil restraining order against Dewitt. Then, on November the 21st of that year, the police submitted an arrest warrant application. It would go to the state attorney for the violation of the protective order. The application was denied and sent back with a request for more information. Instead of more information being collected, the warrant application was not resubmitted and it was never signed. On December 1st of 2022, on a separate issue, a judge granted an extension to the restraining order from November the 14th. Then, on December 6th, 2022, at around 9 p.m., a call came in to 911 requesting immediate help at 76 Salem Walk in Milford, Connecticut. The caller was 17-year-old Sean Minogue. He had awakened to screams coming from downstairs. Sean told 911 that Dewitt, her mother's ex-boyfriend, was holding an axe and his mother was on the floor in the kitchen, covered in blood. A Ring camera provided by a neighbor shows a man walking with an axe in his hand, matching the description of Dewitt. When police officers entered the home, they found a large axe on top of the stove with evidence on the blade and Julie's body on the floor in a large pool of blood. She was suffering from fatal injuries, was not moving, and appeared to not be breathing. It would later be determined by the medical examiner that the cause of death was from hacking wounds and blunt impacts to the head, torso, and extremities. Both sons had been witnesses to the brutal attack on their mother. Julie Minogue was just 40 years old at the time of her death. DeWitt fled the scene, so officers began canvassing the neighborhood and surrounding areas. Where DeWitt had been spotted, the bar was less than a mile from Julie's home. Police were flagged down by two individuals who recognized DeWitt wandering around in the parking lot of the dive bar. He was last seen entering a food truck parked at a bakery on Ocean Avenue. Officers entered the truck, found DeWitt, and took him into custody. Ewan DeWitt, age 42, was charged with murder, violation of a protective order, violation of a restraining order, risk of injury to a child, and reckless endangerment. His history showed that he had served in the Marine Corps from 2009 until 2013. He was a veteran, and there had been some mental health issues, possibly caused by his time in the military. During his arraignment, DeWitt gave a full admission to officers of what had occurred. At the request of DeWitt's attorney, he was placed on suicide watch while being held on a $5 million bond. This tragedy, this domestic violence case, questions the safeguards needed in the process of obtaining a warrant because it is often considered imminent danger. Thus, it may need to be handled quickly. After Julie's death, a different officer refiled the warrant for the arrest of DeWitt, of which he would be served additional charges for the violations in jail. Michael Rosnick, the attorney representing the Minogue family, filed a letter of intent that named the city of Milford, the police department, and Officer Nablin concerning impending litigation. The letter stated that Julie's death was preventable and the family would be seeking multiple damages. Mr. DeWitt had a long history of violent behavior against Miss Minogue and others, Resnick wrote, contending this was known or should have been known by the proposed defendants. Rosnick contends that the proposed defendants failed to take threats against Minogue's life seriously and act to protect her in a timely and appropriate fashion. Hundreds gathered at a vigil honoring Julie Minogue, who was killed just 5 days earlier in her home. Those who knew her described her as someone who lit up a room whenever she was in the presence of others. But when she was at her brightest, she was talking about her great love, her children. She was a happy, positive force in their lives, and she was an amazing, protective, and loving mother. The closest people to Julie knew about her ongoing domestic problems, and they had worried about her, but they had been shocked by the end result of this constant problem. They were angry at the senseless death of this woman, but they came together during the vigil to grieve and to support the family and hopefully to heal. Julie's sister had even set up a GoFundMe account for the three boys that raised over $100,000 that Sunday afternoon at the vigil, and they did so by turning it into a positive fight against domestic violence. Julie Minogue did not deserve this, no one does, but maybe her story will help open someone's eyes. May it help someone to make that tough decision. May it help to save a life.